Hello there, movie lovers, and welcome back to Stories from Popcorn Time. Today we're paying tribute to the late, great Jim Abrams by taking a deep dive into one of his most iconic co-creations, Airplane. This 1980 comedy took the disaster movie genre, flipped it upside down, and crammed it full of fast-paced jokes and quotable lines that still make us laugh decades later. So buckle up. Set your tray tables to the upright position, and let's prepare for takeoff. Here are 30-plus behind-the-scenes facts you never knew about Airplane, plus a little extra context to show how this film took off into comedy history. 1. A parody born from late-night TV. Childhood friends Jim Abrams, David Zucker, and Jerry Zucker, often called the Zaz Team, grew up in Shorewood, Wisconsin. They moved to Los Angeles, founded the Kentucky Fried Theater, and developed a habit of recording late-night TV to find material for sketches. That's how they stumbled across the 1957 disaster film 0 Hour, whose plot revolves around a war veteran named Ted Stryker, forced to land a commercial airliner after its pilots are incapacitated. Sound familiar? In fact, the Airplane. Script lifted entire chunks of dialogue straight from 0 Hour because the Zaz Team intended to replicate both the dialogue and visual style of 0 Hour. So closely they made sure to purchase the rights to the original film. With that legal hurdle out of the way, they could watch 0 Hour on set, matching its camera angles and lighting to comedic effect, right down to the character named Ted Stryker, slightly tweaked from Stryker to Stryker. There was a bit of tension with Universal Studios, which had its own high-profile series of airplane disaster films: Airport, 1970, Airport, 1975, Airport, 77, and The Concorde, Airport, 79. Some studio heads worried that Airplane felt too much like a parody of their airport brand and initially threatened legal action. Ultimately, the comedic twist on the premise set it apart enough to proceed. 2. Helen Reddy's lost role. Helen Reddy, who played Sister Ruth in Airport 1975, was keen to play Sister Angelina in Airplane. But Universal nixed that idea, not wanting direct overlap with its airport franchise. The role eventually went to Maureen McGovern, singer of Oscar-winning theme songs from The Poseidon Adventure and The Towering Inferno. 3. Casting curveballs. From David Letterman to Kareem. In early development, Paramount wanted established comedians for the leads. A then stand-up David Letterman auditioned for Ted Stryker, alongside others like Bill Murray and Fred Willard. Ultimately, the part went to Robert Hayes, but another role, Roger Murdoch, was originally written for baseball star Pete Rose. Rose's schedule clashed with filming, so basketball legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was cast instead. And yes, he did get that extra $5,000 to buy the Oriental rug he'd been eyeing. 4. Dramatic actors delivering deadpan comedy. The Zaz Team deliberately didn't cast big-name comedians in the main roles. Instead, they wanted dramatic performers who could keep a straight face while delivering absurd lines, maximizing the film's humor. Leslie Nielsen, Lloyd Bridges, Peter Graves, and Robert Stack all had serious reputations, making their deadpan deliveries even funnier. This casting method would become a hallmark of spoofs to come. 5. Christopher Lee's biggest regret. Before signing Leslie Nielsen, the filmmakers approached British screen icon Christopher Lee. Lee turned them down in favor of Steven Spielberg's comedy 1941. In his autobiography, Lee later called it a major mistake, realizing he missed out on a legendary comedic role that would have catapulted him into new territory. 6. A 9-year-old learns grown-up jokes. Rossi Harris, who played Joey, the kid who visits the cockpit and gets questionable banter from Captain Avur, Peter Graves, was only 9 during filming. He had no idea what Turkish prisons or gladiator movies were referencing. By the time he actually watched the movie at age 10, the light bulb clicked and he grasped all those grown-up jokes. 7. Ethel Merman's final film. Legendary Broadway star Ethel Merman made her last screen appearance here, playing a soldier convinced he was Ethel Merman. It was a short, surreal cameo that added to the film's sense of anarchic fun. Merman passed away in 1984, securing Airplane as her memorable cinematic swan song. 8. 3 directors, 1 vision. Jim Abrams, David Zucker, and Jerry Zucker all shared co-directing duties, unusual in Hollywood, where even co-directing by 2 people is relatively rare. The Directors Guild of America initially balked at the idea of crediting 3 names, but eventually granted the trio a one-time exception. Their approach was simple. Whoever stood closest to the actor in a given scene made the on-the-fly decisions. 9. The blind Polish pilot scene that never made it, a gag involving blind singers Jose Feliciano, Ray Charles, and Stevie Wonder lookalikes playing Polish co-pilots, was actually filmed, only to spark protests from the Polish-American League. The Zaz trio decided it wasn't worth the controversy, and truth be told, they felt the joke fell flat, so they cut it entirely. 10. Robert Hayes, Life Imitates Art. While portraying Ted Stryker, Robert Hayes was also commuting between the Airplane set and TV sitcom Angie. Fun fact, Hayes is a real-life licensed pilot himself, capable of flying 4-engine planes. He brought genuine aviation know-how to a role that demanded comedic chaos in the cockpit. 11. Leslie Nielsen's fart machine. On set, Leslie Nielsen became notorious for carrying around a fart machine, a gag device that hissed out comedic noises at the worst, best possible moments. Nielsen sold a few of these contraptions to cast and crew, leading to a mini epidemic of sudden, flatulent sounds. He continued using it in TV interviews for years, always catching talk show hosts off guard. 12th. Moms in the spotlight. The Zucker brothers cast their mother, Charlotte Zucker, as the woman trying to apply makeup during turbulence. Jim Abrams got in on the fun by giving his mother Louise a cameo introducing Leslie Nielsen's character. Keep your eyes peeled for those cameo moments. Family involvement was part of the comedic tradition in the Zaz world. 13. Real airport announcers are real-life couple. One of the film's most unexpectedly hysterical moments comes from the overhead voices describing the red and white zones, until they devolve into an argument about an unwanted pregnancy. Those voices belong to the actual couple who had recorded announcements at Los Angeles International Airport LAX, making the gag even more authentic. 14th slapping scene, upgraded by an actress's idea. Lee Bryant plays the hysterical passenger who slapped repeatedly to calm her down. Initially, the script called for only 1 slap, but Bryant suggested that adding a line of passengers waiting to slap her would be funnier. Leslie Nielsen supposedly threw in an extra slap or 2 for good measure, improvising for comedic gold. 15th, $3.5 million budget, $171 million box office. Made for a relatively modest $3.5 million Airplane, soared to a whopping $171 million worldwide in 1980, making it the 4th highest grossing film in the U.S. that year, and, at the time, the top earning comedy in box office history. That record held until 1984, when Ghostbusters surpassed it. 16th, sequels without the original creators. Given its staggering success, Paramount naturally wanted Airplane 2, the sequel. But the Zaz team felt they'd exhausted the comedic possibilities and opted out. Instead, writer-director Ken Finkelman took over, bringing back many of the cast. Although Airplane 2 teased a potential Airplane 3. It never materialized due to the sequel's lukewarm performance. 17. I Am Serious, and Don't Call Me Shirley. One of the most quotable lines in cinema, surely you can't be serious. I Am Serious, and Don't Call Me Shirley landed at number 79 on the American Film Institute's list of the 100 greatest movie quotes. Originally, Paramount's marketing team even considered Don't Call Me Shirley for the film's tagline, but worried it would confuse viewers unfamiliar with the joke. 18. Launch the spoof renaissance. While Airplane is often seen as a parody of disaster flicks like Airport, it also triggered a wave of spoofs in the 1980s. The Zaz team followed up with Top Secret, and later, the Naked Gun series, proving to studios that broad parodies could be wildly profitable. You can trace much of the modern comedic satire boom back to Airplane is success. 19. A real Boeing cockpit at LAX. To capture authentic cockpit shots, the production used an actual Boeing 707 parked at Los Angeles International Airport rather than building a set from scratch. Interiors for the passenger and stewardess sequences were filmed on sound stages, giving the filmmakers full control over lighting and camera angles for comedic timing. 20. Barbara Billingsley's surprise Jive talk. Casting Barbara Billingsley, known as June Cleaver from Leave It to Beaver, to speak jive was an inspired bit of irony. Billingsley was worried she'd flub the slang, but her polite earnestness was exactly what made the scene so hilarious. Audiences adored this wholesome TV mom busting out street jargon with a straight face. 21st. Howard Jarvis's taxi fare gag. The passenger left waiting in Ted Stryker's taxi during the entire movie was Howard Jarvis, a real-life activist famous for California's Proposition 13. The joke was that Jarvis, known for helping people save money on taxes, would ironically be left racking up an astronomical cab fare. 22nd WGA honors for the funniest scripts. Airplane. Consistently lands near the top when the Writers Guild of America ranks the funniest screenplays ever. Known for breakneck pacing, the script layers gag after gag, giving future comedy writers a masterclass in how to pack jokes into every scene. 23rd, inducted into the National Film Registry. In 2010, the Library of Congress selected Airplane for preservation in the National Film Registry, the ultimate accolade for movies considered culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Yes, a slapstick parody can also be high art, folks. 24. Ted Stryker's drinking problem was a last-minute addition. The running gag of Ted Stryker spilling his drink on himself originated in late rewrites. The filmmakers wanted a silly quirk to underscore his anxiety. It became one of the film's best-known sight gags. Simple, but memorably goofy. 25th. Jimmie Walker's Blink and You Miss It cameo. During one airport montage, Jimmie Walker, JJ from Good Times, briefly appears as a window washer. It's a lightning-fast cameo, but fans love to point it out. He effectively contributed a little extra dynamite to the chaos. 26. Jonathan Banks, pre-Breaking Bad. Before he was Mike Ehrmantraut, Jonathan Banks appears in Airplane as Gunderson. Though his small role is played straight, it's a fun piece of trivia, seeing him in a zany spoof years before becoming a fan-favorite tough guy in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. 27. The disco scene nod to Saturday Night Fever. Ted and Elaine's first meeting is a disco dance-off reminiscent of Saturday Night Fever. The rumor is that the Zaz team initially tried licensing the Bee Gees' Stayin' Alive. A sped-up version of that track does appear in the film, letting them skirt pricey licensing costs while still referencing the disco craze. 28. From Kentucky Fried Theater to Hollywood, The Zaz Trio honed their comedic style with the Kentucky Fried Theater, a sketch comedy troupe they started back in Wisconsin. Their fast-paced, no-joke-left-behind approach to stage comedy translated directly to Airplane. They essentially packed every scene with as many gags as possible. 29, the airplane nose job poster. The iconic twisting airplane nose on the poster was nicknamed the Smirk by the props team. A full-on smile felt too silly even for the Zaz crew, so they dialed it back to a subtle comedic twist, creating an unforgettable piece of movie art. 30, ranked number 10 on AFI's 100 Years, 100 Laughs. In the American Film Institute's special on the greatest comedies, Airplane soared to number 10. Sharing company with classics like Some Like It Hot and Tootsie, this ranking cements its status as one of the funniest films in American cinema. 31st, Otto the Autopilot's mysterious voice. Otto, the inflatable autopilot, occasionally makes bizarre, squeaky sounds. Rumor has it one of the directors, possibly Jerry Zucker, added the helium-tinged vocals, but the production never credited anyone. To this day, Otto's official voice remains unverified. 32nd, Leslie Nielsen as Dr. Rumack. Nielsen's ultra-serious doctor has a name, Dr. Rumack, that was meant as an inside joke, roughly implying he was rummaging around for answers. Subtle Easter eggs like this are sprinkled throughout the script, rewarding sharp-eyed and sharp-eared fans. 33rd, real-life red and white zone voices turned down the sequel. After their hilarious cameo, the real LAX announcer couple was briefly asked to reprise their roles in Airplane 2, the sequel, but they declined. They figured they'd already reached comedic perfection with their argument over an unwanted pregnancy. 34th, Paramount's shocking test screening. The studio had moderate expectations, but once test audiences erupted in near-constant laughter, Paramount realized Airplane could be a hit. Executives even joked they should bump up the advertising budget mid-preview. Sure enough, the film became a surprise box office phenomenon. 35th, Leslie Nielsen's second act in Hollywood. Nielsen initially worried his dramatic persona might clash with such broad comedy. Yet once he embraced it, he discovered a new comedic identity, Airplane, effectively launched him into films like The Naked Gun, guaranteeing him a beloved place in slapstick history. 36, still influencing modern media. From Family Guy to The Simpsons, countless pop culture references pay tribute to Airplane. Whether it's the infamous line, "We're all counting on you," or cameo nods to inflatable autopilots, modern shows continue to tip their hats to the 1980 classic. 37. Howard Jarvis wasn't the only Prop 13 connection. While Jarvis's cameo is the big nod, the Zaz team actually hid smaller references to 1970s California politics in background signs and extras. They loved weaving local political satire into the film, trusting that at least some viewers would catch the in-jokes. 38. Don't Call Me Shirley lives on. Finally, it's worth underscoring that "Don't Call Me Shirley" isn't just a funny line. It's become a pop culture catchphrase, quoted in everything from office banter to memes. It's a testament to how Airplane captured comedic lightning in a bottle, staying fresh for new generations. And there you have it, 30-plus surprising facts about Airplane that illuminate how this unstoppable comedy took flight. From its zero-hour origins and unusual casting choices to the cameo-laden madness and massive box office success, Airplane remains a masterclass in zany parody. If you've enjoyed this journey, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss more movie trivia and behind-the-scenes stories from Popcorn Time. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, I am serious, and don't call me Shirley. Until next time, safe travels and lots of laughs.